I recorded earlier on a piece of test video about me on a bicycle, and I recorded it on my iPhone, and I used AirDrop to get it from my iPhone onto the downloads folder in my computer. And if we open up the video here, we can see it's about a minute long, and it's a piece of video about me cycling through the forest, with my dog. So we're going to see if we can shorten this down to a 15-second piece of video that might be used for something like an Instagram story or a Facebook story. So first of all, what I like to do is create a folder somewhere on my computer that's going to house all of the episodes of a particular series. So if we imagine the video that we're making here is a screen share tutorial, which is the video that you're watching now, and episode 001 is all about video editing 101. So I've created a folder specifically for this episode. So if I open up that folder, I'm going to drag in my raw video into that particular folder, and I've moved it into there. Then you can use whatever video editor you want. They all work in very similar ways, but I'm going to be working today with Movavi Video Editor. I'm going to add the file that we've just been referring to, come to my folder, screen share tutorials, episode 001. I'm going to add in my raw footage, and it's putting it here in the media bin component. So these are all of the pieces of media that this particular project can work with. And before I get going too much further, I'm going to save the project as. So I'm giving the project a name. I'm going to put it in the same folder, screen share tutorials, and I'm going to say 001 video editing 101. And what a project does is it houses the settings and editing changes that we're going to be making to this piece of media. It doesn't copy the source file itself. So it's important that you keep the raw movie file that you'll be working with until you actually export this project as a video file in its own right. It will require that the source files exist in a consistent location. So in order to start working, we need to drag the files that we want to work with into our workspace. So once I do that and I drag it down here, what we'll see is that this editing tool is going to create, in this case, 2 tracks. So we've got a video track up here and an audio track down there. And most video editing tools will allow you to work with the 2 tracks independently. The first thing we'll see is we've just got a timeline that, if you can see up here, is equivalent to the duration of this piece of video. And as I move across the screen, it will obviously update the marker that sits up here on our piece of video. So first of all, what we want to do, is trim it down. So first of all, what I like to do is find a nice opening sequence. Cutting out the pauses that you might get at the start of a video. So if I decide that point is here, I will mark that point using my marker, and then I will use the cut symbol, which creates a cut in this particular scene. And once I've done that, I can highlight the element that I want to delete, and I can simply delete that from the frame. I might decide that if I want to show a passage of time, I want to cut at this point. And so if I decide I've got my 5 seconds of my dog running, and I'm happy with that as an introductory scene. I might cut at that point. Now, the next thing I want to do is look at the music, at the soundtrack. So what I would like to do is use some sample music instead of having the audio that's associated with the actual video. So I will highlight the audio component and I will delete the audio from there. I will then go to the music section, and with most editing applications, there's a certain amount of music that's completely free. You can source music from a number of places, and we spoke last time about the sorts of locations where you can download free music and sound effects. So if I decide that I want to represent a voyage of discovery, I might choose to download this track and place it at the start of my video. Now, the interesting thing is that this is an audio track that's going to last, well beyond the length of my video. So I might choose to use a particular portion of this audio, and the height of the sound beats here denotes where the action is. So I'm choosing some of the action areas of this particular content. I'll drag that down to match it towards somewhere close to where the end of my opponent is going to be. So next I decide what I want my scene to be, and it's actually as we're approaching the bridge. So if I move forward until the bridge is just about to come into view, and I will choose my second break at that point. So I will cut at that point, and I'm going to remove this component to the video. And so I've taken the following 10 seconds as my dog and I are approaching this bridge, and we can see the entire video has gone to 15 seconds. And at that point, I'm going to cut. But before I go to edit the rest of the portion of the video, the end point of the video where we see the train, just because I want that 10 seconds to speed up a little bit, I'm going to click into the speed here and set this at 200%, which will double the speed of the proportion of just that particular part of the video, which will mean we get to, at this point, we are at 10 seconds, 11 seconds, we're a second into this last section instead of 15. So at this final point of the video, I just want to miss out the left turn and just capture the right turn at the point when we start to turn, to give the user context so they know where they're moving from. So we can see my dog in shot there. So I'll cut at that point, and I'm going to delete this portion of the video. And as we turn, it takes a bit of time for that train to come there. So I'm going to introduce another cut just there. And so when we look back at this footage, what we notice is the person taking the recording, myself, actually zooms in on, and it causes an abrupt jump. So what we're going to do is cut to the point where we capture the turn from looking at the dog to looking at the train tracks, so that the viewer stays involved. But we're actually going to cut out the lag of time, but also the jump in refocus, which is this point. So we're going to take that out. And what we want here, just because we're moving from one view to another, is to insert a transition. And there are different types of transitions. You can circle in, you can fade to black, you can disintegrate, or you can have, some sort of smooth transition where we transition from, one scene to another. I'm going to choose a smooth ripple, and if I place that transition here, I can see that transition's now been created between those 2 points. And so if we scroll back right to the start now, let's just see where we've got. So we've got the opening 5 seconds with our dog running. We're happy with that. Then we cut to running towards the bridge, sped up at 200%. We ripple, and then we suddenly see a train coming across. And our last edit is going to be a scene where we cut from right to left, and then we want the final train running away as the final scene. We want to get that down into 15 seconds, so we've still got a bit of work to do. At this point, our camera is just about to pan left, so we cut out there. We're going to remove that section, and we pan left, and then we pan right. As soon as it's come into picture, we're going to cut again. And what we'll do is just take out that little gap there and get to the point where we see the train has already come under the bridge. And just at that point, we'll cut again. We'll remove that section, and then we're at 16 seconds. So if we go back to the front, let's see if we can trim that first second. Here we go. So we'll cut that out, and we'll remove that component. And then where are we at? Well, we're at 15 seconds, so that works for us. The social media tools will, if need be, trim that last few milliseconds. But when we go back and look at our final edited version, let's see what it looks like. So we've got the puppy running along, sped up towards the bridge. Puppy runs in front, camera pans to the right, blurs, and away goes the train. Nice bit of 15-second footage that would work for any Instagram, Facebook story. So finally, once we've finished our editing, what we want to do is file, save the project, and to actually get the file out, meaning the video file, we need to use the export feature. And inside the export features, you can choose your video quality. So the larger the quality of the video, the larger the file. So bear in mind that file sizes can get rather large if you're creating lots of video, especially at high quality. But in this case, we'll choose a high quality resolution. Our format, standard format, is MP4. If you export into MP4, you'll be able to add to almost all of the social media platforms. And once you start, it will take a few moments, but then the video file will export into your project.